Everybody, Randy here in the Eastwood Garage, and today we're going to explain the basics of powder coating to help you understand the process and show you how it's done and give you some tips that will help you get professional results. And remember, if at any time you want to visit Eastwood.com for more info on the tools we're using, all you have to do is click or tap the button in the top corner of the video. To begin powder coating, you'll need a powder coating gun, powder, an air compressor, which can be a small pancake compressor, an air pressure regulator, an air filter to maintain dry air, an electric oven dedicated for powder coating, and a part you want to coat. That's it. We're going to show you how we transform this old Ski-Doo snowmobile engine head cover from dull gray aluminum to a shiny blue metallic that will look great for years to come. Plus, we're going to show you some tips and tricks using other parts as well. We're even going to show you how to give the engine head cover a cool two-tone appearance. Now, before we show you how we revive this old part, let's explain the process and show you what you need. In the simplest terms, the steps of powder coating are: attach the cup of powder, connect the compressed air, attach the ground clamp, and spray. When the part is coated with powder, cure it in an electric oven. But don't worry, we'll go into much more detail in this video. Typically, powder coating is done over conductive metal parts, but many items that can withstand the curing temperature of 400 degrees Fahrenheit can also be powder coated, like glass, which is done using a process called hot flocking, which we'll demonstrate later. But for this video, we're going to focus on the most common use of powder coating, which is for metal parts. Powder coating is a process that involves applying an extremely durable plastic coating using an electrical charge and compressed air before baking it permanently with heat, typically in an oven, but heat lamps can also be used. Using a large 240-volt home oven has many benefits when powder coating. Not only can you fit large parts like wheels in home ovens, but they also recover much quicker, allowing the oven to get back to curing temperature faster and giving you the best results. Its durability is what makes it so popular for parts on the underside of a car that are commonly hit with stones or sawed. It's also great for hood hinges or suspension components like springs and items that move and stretch because it's more flexible than paint. Powder coating is much safer for the environment than paint because it contains no solvents that produce hazardous emissions or VOCs, which also means cleanup is quick and easy and leaves you with no hazardous solvents to dispose of. Just sweep up your floor and blow out the gun and everything is clean, which is also much easier than cleaning a paint gun. Let's discuss the process. An emitter rod electrically charges the air in front of the gun. Compressed air moves the powder out of the gun where it passes through this charged air and picks up a high voltage electrical charge. As these charged particles travel through the air, they're drawn to the metal parts which have been grounded by being attached to the ground lead of the powder coating gun. The electrical attraction is how the powder particles are able to get great coverage and reach inside parts and around edges, unlike paint which travels in a straight line out of the gun. This is also why you need a good ground to attract the powder for the best coverage. So when possible, ground directly to the part you're spraying. Another advantage of powder is that if you make a mistake, you can simply blow the part off and start again, which is a huge advantage over mistakes that are made during the painting process. Now, once the part is coated, you'll place it in the oven to cure. During this process, the first thing you'll see is the flow out, or melting of the powder particles. You'll be able to see this happen as the powder becomes a smooth, even surface. If it's a gloss, it will start to shine at this point. A good rule of thumb is to allow the powder to flow out and then continue to cure it in the oven for an additional 20 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. But remember to check the instructions for the powder you're using. A great tip that's more accurate is to use an IR thermometer to check the temperature of the part rather than the temperature of the air in the oven. When the part reaches 400 degrees, then cure it for 20 minutes. Also, heavier cast parts will absorb more heat and may take more time to reach the full cure temperature, which is another reason it's beneficial to use an IR thermometer. And remember, an extra 5 to 10 minutes of curing shouldn't hurt the powder. Let's discuss safety. When spraying powder, you'll want to wear safety goggles and a dust mask. Cure the powder in an electric oven dedicated for powder coating. Don't cook in the oven after you've used it for powder coating, and never use a gas oven to cure the powder. When cleaning up, never use a vacuum cleaner, which could emit a spark and ignite the powder. Always sweep the powder with a soft brush and dustpan. Also, never smoke near the powder when filling the gun, applying the powder, or when cleaning. Never touch the emitter rod. To defuse the possibility of an electric shock, touch the end of the ground clamp to the emitter rod. And remember, never handle or touch a part while powder is being applied because you could receive an electric shock. To begin powder coating, make sure you remove anything that could be damaged by the 400-degree temperature that is needed to cure the part, like grommets, bushings, bearings, seals, or other plastic components. The part should then be prepped like you would for paint, removing all dirt, dust, grease, and oils with a product like Eastwood Pre-Paint Prep, and then wiped with a quality tack rag. You will also need to remove any old coatings like paint, since many paints won't withstand the curing temperature. Paints will also not conduct a charge, which means the powder won't adhere properly. A great way to remove paint and prep the part for powder is by blasting, in a cabinet or with a pressure blaster. We put the head cover in the Eastwood blast cabinet and use glass beads to fully clean the part. We used our large cabinet, but if you're only doing small parts, Eastwood offers other sizes of cabinets, including a benchtop version that's great for small parts or even crafts. If cleaning a part by blasting, it's a good idea to place the part in the oven and heat it until it reaches 100 degrees. This will remove a charge you may have created while blasting that could affect your coverage. You can also use a chemical stripper like Eastwood Down to Metal to remove these coatings, which we've done with other projects, like when we restored an old set of wheels and covered them in Eastwood Gloss White and Cosmic Clear. If you're powder coating a cast part, it's also a good idea to place the parts in a 450-degree oven for an hour to bake out the impurities. An IR thermometer is helpful for determining the temperature of the part if it's preheated or being hot flocked. An IR thermometer will tell you the exact temperature of the part you're coating, while the oven thermometer will read the air temperature, and there could be a difference between the two, especially if it's a thick cast part. And here are a few more things to look for. Many body fillers won't withstand the curing temperature, and fillers that will withstand the temperatures are not electrically conductive, so they will not accept the charged powder and will leave you with bare spots wherever there's body filler. So make sure all body filler is also removed. You should also avoid touching the parts with your bare hands because you will introduce oils to the part, which will also affect powder adhesion. Parts can be hung to be powder coated or placed directly on the rack. Hanging the parts from the oven rack is a great method if you need to coat all sides of the part. If using a larger home oven, you can support the oven rack with 2 sawhorses. This is easier than attempting to powder coat the part and then hang it on a rack that's already inside the oven. Here's a tip. When powder coating a part that has threaded holes, use bolts not only to protect the threads, but to also give you an anchor point to hang the part. When hanging parts, make sure you're using wire that doesn't have an anti-rust coating that could prevent proper grounding. Stainless wire is great for hanging parts when applying powder. If a part is bumped or touched before it gets to the oven, you can blow the powder off and start over. This is one huge advantage over paint, where you would be forced to use a chemical stripper to remove the paint before respraying. If you need to mask areas, be sure to use a quality high-temperature polyester or fiberglass powder coating tape. Polyester tape is much thinner than fiberglass tape and provides a sharper, cleaner edge. But fiberglass tape is more flexible and will conform to irregular shapes better. To protect this engine head cover off a Ski-Doo snowmobile, we're using the high-temp polyester masking tape. To get a nice edge around the cover, use the narrow tape on the lip and then use the wide tape to cover the entire bottom. With the cover flipped over, use a razor to cut along the edge. Also, tape off any other surfaces you don't want powder coated and trim with a razor. If you need to tape off a large area, you can use aluminum foil in conjunction with high-temp masking tape. This way you can protect your parts while using less tape. High-heat silicone plugs can be used to cover and fill any holes. To begin powder coating, select the powder you'll be using and pour it into the cup. For this project, we're using Eastwood Metallic Blue Powder, which will really make it pop. When using the Eastwood dual voltage system and for best results, it's recommended that for the cup not to be filled more than halfway. Powder is made of minute particles, so different colors cannot be mixed together like paint to create a new color. Here's a tip. Make sure you're using virgin powder so you know it's pure and doesn't contain dirt or contaminants. Powder can be swept, sifted, and reused, but for the best results, use virgin powder like we offer at Eastwood. It's now time to connect the ground clamp and begin spraying the powder. Hold the gun about 8 to 16 inches from the part and apply using gentle, steady, sweeping motions while moving around the entire part. The gun we're using only requires 5 to 10 psi at a mere 2 CFM, which is why you can use a small pancake compressor. Apply powder until the part is uniformly covered and you can't see through it. A dual voltage gun like this one from Eastwood is great because you can switch the voltage to get the best coverage on large flat areas as well as in tight corners where you can get poor coverage due to the Faraday cage effect, meaning the powder will be repelled from those areas unless you're using a gun that allows you to adjust the voltage. Faraday cage effect happens most often in areas where the angles are about 90 degrees or tighter. To avoid this effect, first set the powder gun to the lower voltage setting to limit the charge you're building up on the part. Make sure you have the deflector on the gun and turn up the air pressure to allow more powder to flow out of the gun. Also, spray these areas first, because by spraying them first, you haven't built up as much of a charge, which will repel the powder. Start spraying the area with the gun parallel to the part, and the deflector will direct the powder out of the side and onto the part. Once you spray the tight areas, you can remove the deflector and switch the gun back to the higher voltage setting to spray the remaining larger areas. Once the powder is applied, place the part in the oven to cure. We suggest curing the powder at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Once the powder flows out and appears to be smooth, continue to cure for an additional 20 minutes. Remember, always check the instructions for the powder you're using for proper curing temperature and time. When it's fully cured, remove it from the oven and you'll have a highly durable part that looks great for years to come. As you can see, the Eastwood Blue Metallic really made this old snowmobile head cover look better than it was when it was new. And the best part is that it didn't take much investment or time to get these results. If you want to add a cool effect, you can sand through the lettering to give it a two-tone appearance. Start with 120 grit and then move to 600, 800, and finally 1200 grit to remove all the powder as well as the scratches from the previous grits of sandpaper. With the powder from the lettering removed, the cover looks even better, and it only added a few additional minutes of work. As you can see, the blue metallic looks awesome against the aluminum lettering, giving it a cool two-tone effect. Plus, we now have a highly durable coating that will look great for years to come. To clean the gun, simply blow it off with your blow nozzle. No harmful chemicals or solvents to dispose of, like when mixing and spraying paint. Not only is powder coating easy to apply, it's also easy to clean up, even from a floor. In fact, all you need to do is sweep up the overspray. That's why when you're buying powder, you should make sure you're buying virgin powder. Many companies who sell powder sell reclaimed powder, which is why it may cost a little less, but you may not be getting the best powder and it may show up in your finished job. Now that you've seen how easy it is to powder coat, let's go over a few other options. Chrome powders can mimic the appearance of chrome, but typically need to be clear coated for highest durability. There is a trade-off for this added durability because you will lose some of the chrome appearance. Additives like metal flakes can also provide a great appearance to your powder coated items. Translucent powders can provide a great look and drastically change the appearance, whether it's sprayed over chrome or a white base. These were sprayed first with white powder and then top coated with a translucent. As you can see, there's a big difference in appearance whether the base is chrome or white. You can even powder coat glass using a process called hot flocking, which means the part is preheated before applying the powder. This is done because the glass won't conduct a charge, so it also won't attract the powder. When the part is removed from the oven, the powder is applied quickly before the part cools, and that's because it's sticking to the part because it's hot, not because it's attracted due to the static electricity. You can actually see the powder begin to flow out because the glass is so hot. Hot flocking can also be done on metal objects to help with the coverage, especially on a second coat. The ground clamp is still connected to the metal, but you're gaining the benefits of both electrical attraction as well as the powder sticking to the part due to the heat. And remember, powder coating is not only great for car parts, but also motorcycle frames and components, as well as doorknobs, lawn ornaments, fishing lures, stainless mugs, and even crafts. I hope this helped you understand powder coating and how easy it can be to make your parts look great. Make sure you subscribe so you'll be notified when we release more videos on troubleshooting as well as projects from the Eastwood Garage. And we have a lot of cool projects that we'll be powder coating over the next few months. And if you want to visit Eastwood.com for more powder coating guns and supplies, all you have to do is click or tap the button in the top corner of the video or follow the link that appears on screen.